Hi, this is Miss Felice. Today in this video, we're going to talk about exponents. We're going to learn how to read an exponent and understand what an exponent means. So you've probably seen this before, but this right here, this 7 with the little 5 in the top right corner, this is an exponent. Actually, this number that's up here in the top right corner, that specifically is called an exponent. That right there is your exponent. And the bigger number, the 7, that's called your base. So what does that mean? What does this mean when we see a 7 with a 5 in the corner? That means that we are going to multiply the 7 together 5 times in a row. 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. So when we have an exponent of 5, that means we're multiplying our base together 5 times. This expression is read as 7 to the 5th power. That's how we would say that, 7 to the 5th power. And now, whatever your exponent is, that's what power it's going to be. So if your exponent is a 4, it's going to be the 4th power. If your exponent is 12, it's going to be to the 12th power. So we read it as 7 to the 5th power. So another way that we could say this, the number blank is used as a repeated factor blank times. Well, 7 is my repeated factor because that's the number that's getting repeated over and over. How many times is it getting repeated? 5 times, because my exponent was a 5. So the number 7 is used as a repeated factor 5 times. And once again, the base of this expression is 7, and the exponent is 5. If I want to know the value of 7 to the 5th power, I have to really multiply 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. For this part, if you wanted to, you could use a calculator. 7 times 7 is 49, and then you would do 49 times 7, and then that answer times 7, and then that answer times 7. The value of 7 to the 5th power is 16,807. It's a big number. So that's a little basic overview of exponents. Now let's practice a little bit. We are going to rewrite each statement using either an exponent or as repeated multiplication, whichever one it is not. So for number 1, I see 4 to the 3rd power, which means what would we be multiplying and how many times would we multiply it? Well, we would be multiplying 4 together. We would do it 3 times. 4 is the repeated factor 3 times. So you would do 4 times 4 times 4. This is 4 to the 3rd power. What is the value of that? Well, we know that 4 times 4 is 16, and then 16 times 4 is 64. So 4 to the 3rd power is 64. This one actually, though, this exponent is a special one. I know I said that when we have an exponent, we say to the blank power, but there are 2 exponents that have a special name. So we could also call this exponent, because it's a 3, we could say this expression as 4 cubed. 4 cubed. That's another way that we can say 4 to the 3rd power. There's only 2 exponents that can be said a special way, but an exponent of 3 is one of them. All right, next example, we have 1/5, 1/2 to the 5th power. So my base is 1/2, which means we are going to multiply 1/2 5 times in a row. 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times another 1/2 and times another 1/2. If I wanted to, I could figure out the value of this expression. We know how to multiply fractions. We multiply the numerators together, but that's easy because we know 1 times 1 is 1. So our numerator, 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, is just going to be 1. Our denominator, we know that 2 times 2 is 4. Then 4 times another 2 is 8. 8 times another 2 would be 16. And then 16 times 2 would be 32. So the value of 1/2 to the 5th power would be 1/32. Next we have 8 times 8. Now this is already written as repeated multiplication. I'm multiplying the same number 2 times. So my base would be 8. That's the number that's getting multiplied. And how many times do I multiply? Well, I see 1 8, 2 8s. So this would be 8 to the 2nd power. That's how I would write this expression using an exponent. 8 to the 2nd power, because there are 1 8s, 2 8s. Now this is the other exponent that has a special name to it. Instead of saying 8 to the 2nd power, I could say that this is 8 squared. And that is probably how you will hear this said the most often. 8 squared. So the 2nd power is squared and the 3rd power is cubed. So 8 to the 2nd power, or 8 squared, is how we would say this expression. And then finally, we have down here 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Well, my repeated factor is 5. That's definitely what's getting repeated. How many 5s? How many times does it get multiplied with itself? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So if I wanted to rewrite this using an exponent, I would write 5 to the 4th power. 5 is my base and 4 is my exponent. And that's your basics on exponents. I hope this helped.